Back on Sold Out Sports Talk on AFR Talk. Roman Gabriel III, your host, getting you ready for a great weekend of sports. Hope you're enjoying your time with your family this weekend. We're having a great time here. You can join us 8 Eastern every Saturday night for Sold Out Sports Talk. And, of course, you want to get hold of me, you can do it on Facebook at Roman Gabriel III, my fan page, or you can go to Sold Out Youth Ministries. Our ministry information all available for you there, and we appreciate the support. I actually had checks coming in this week from you out there, and I really appreciate the support for our ministries. We reach out with a passion of sports to change the lives of young people and families across our country. We need to take back the family. We need to help this generation of kids, and really exciting to see what's going on out there, and I've got some more news coming up later that we'll talk to you about. Also, Twitter, Roman Gabriel 3RD, that's the number 3RD. If you want to go to our website at soldouttv.com, or even on YouTube for all of our cool NFL video stuff, you can do it at Sold Out TV, one word, the channel Sold Out TV. So make sure you take advantage of those things, and parents, send your kids there because it's great stuff. Faith, family, and sports, and in this case, NFL football stars, guys that really get it on and off the field, giving you an opportunity to see some lessons that your kids can definitely learn from. Role models is what it's all about, and that's what we want to do. Is we want to find the guys that are living the life, and so that your kids can follow them. Our guest on Sold Out Sports Talk is Agent Greg Johnson. He's a friend of mine, representing and doing it right for players in the NFL opportunity, as well as we just talked about the United Football League. He's also involved in youth sports. And Greg, some very interesting news this week, and of course you stay on top of this stuff because you got to know what's going on with these college players, as well as what's happening with agents and some of the rules and regulations that are out there. First off, the state of Texas, Governor Perry out there is cracking down on illegal activities with agents in terms of improper benefits and gifts. And, of course, this was huge last year when you talk about the situation at the University of North Carolina, University of Georgia, University of Florida, most recently Ohio State University. It's one of those things that not only NCAA but also agents are taking a close look at. The state of Texas saying that if there is improper benefits and gifts and the agent is found to be guilty, then up to 10 years in prison and a $50,000 bond. So they're taking it very seriously. One of the few states to really come out with stringent rules.
Well, I agree with that approach. Anything that can eliminate any improprieties that may take place is a step in the right direction, as far as I'm concerned.
So in your mind, this is something that is a serious problem, and we can't have, in this case, juniors that agents want to see come out early, and a lot of these guys were that, especially at the University of North Carolina, where you had several guys, I believe 9 or 10, that were suspended last year, and I believe at least 5 or 6 of those guys went in the first or second round of the University of North Carolina. What do you think is the best way to educate not only agents but players in terms of how we need to correct this problem?
Well, I think the agents are very well educated through the rules and regulations of the NFLPA. Number one. Secondly, many states have adopted the Uniform Athlete Agent Act, which specifies, regulations and penalties, if you, do something that's prohibited. Third, you've got, state acts themselves that may apply governing deceptive and fraudulent practices. And then you have the colleges themselves that publish their own rules and requirements. So from an agent standpoint, the education is there. It's really, from the standpoint of the athlete himself, the onus should be on the school, the athletic department, to educate them, on what is prohibited. And then secondly, I do like the new the Big Ten looking at. I think that plays into this Big Ten looking at increasing the stipend for athletes, college athletes.
Okay, let's talk about that. Jim Delaney, the commissioner of the Big Ten, came out this week and said they were willing to discuss and explore paying student athletes stipends. And let's make this clear. When they sign a scholarship, they're getting room and board, and they're getting meals for part of the year. But what we're talking about here is one of the problems in this chasm between players being lured to come out early has been the fact that they look at the money in the NFL and what's available. You have guys, even this year, in cases like Ohio State, where they were selling some of their Big Ten championship rings and Michigan paraphernalia that they received for the win over Michigan for tattoos. Now, tattoos is probably a bad example, but some players come from poor families. They don't have money for extra food. They don't have money to go to the movies. They don't have money to buy tennis shoes, while you have other players on the team that come from different family backgrounds that can afford those things. And this has been a problem for a long, long time, has been the argument. Here, these leagues are bringing millions in through their television contracts. The coaches are making millions through Nike contracts and other things, including extracurricular radio shows and television shows. But yet the players who are putting it on the line on the field are not seeing any of that. So is it realistic? Because you'd have to do this for the other nonprofit sports and for the women's sports with Title IX. Everyone would have to do this. So do you see a system to where this could actually be viable to do, where you get an extra $2,000 to $3,000 or whatever they decide on for these extra stipend or dollars for the athletes during the year?
Well, I know they're going to study that, the viability of the issue. But you got to believe that the major universities would be able to do that out of the revenues that are generated. I just see you mentioned there are families, there are athletes, obviously, that they can't buy a winter coat, or they can't buy a suit and yet have to make appearances.
Or a ticket home on a plane,
or any of those things. And if you can reduce that and assist that athlete, then the prospect for frequency of some agent violating the law and luring the athlete to do so, I would assume would be reduced. And I look forward to seeing the results of that study.
And, of course, straight-up cash is a big deal because, the situation at Georgia and Carolina and these others were going to some parties that some agents were throwing to talk to these players about potentially coming out early, and there was cash transferred. And, of course, one of the allegations at Auburn, which has not been proven, but there have been a couple of players coming out saying that they received $200 to $400, $500 after a game from boosters or for friends of the program that, kind of a handshake and here's some cash to spend some money. Same thing happened at Florida State a few years back with Bobby Bowden's situation, where players were allowed to get shoes at a local tennis shoe store, some Nikes and some other things that these kids took on. So I'm with you on this. I think that it is viable to look at. The most important factor is, how do you do it fairly, and then is it a problem for Conference USA and for the smaller conferences who maybe might not be able to afford that? And the problem you have, the challenge is that in order to do it, the NCAA would have to pass it across the board for other conferences. So it sounds like the bigger conferences, like the Big Ten, the Big 12, the Pac-10, or the Pac-12 now, would be the ones that could afford it. The SEC, of course, but the smaller conferences, it may be a problem. So we keep talking about some issues, but what I do like is at least we're starting to discuss these things. So, Greg, before I let you go, one of the things that I've seen out there in terms of challenges in the NFL is, do you think that not only the players are going to work out a situation with the league to where we have football this year, but do you feel like the former players are going to get what they want, which is better health, longer-term plan?
Well, I don't think anybody disagrees that the former players should be their benefits should be increased, dramatically. They built the NFL. Your dad, for example, those are the guys that him and Joe Cap and back in those days through the 80s and into the 90s, those are the guys that built it to what it is today. So, and I think both sides had agreed on that a significant portion of revenue should be allocated to the retired players.
Well, Greg, we're going to see what happens. Obviously, football fans are holding their breath because everybody loves the NFL. It's the number one sport in our country. A lot of disappointed people with this, basically arguing over millions and billions of dollars is basically what we're doing. So hopefully we're going to get this done. And I wish you nothing but the best for guys like Donovan and others that you've got, that you can get them placed in the UFL. And then, of course, we can get this NFL situation and get them placed on the right team. So, Greg, let's stay in touch. Let me know what happens with Donovan Fletcher and some of the other players, and we'll look forward to having you back soon. Okay.
Thank you, Roman. Thanks for having me on.
You bet, Greg. Greg Johnson, agent and friend. I tell you, I've really gotten to know him, and one of the things I like about his heart is that he's not only interested in these players' well-being in terms of helping them get the next level in their dream of having an NFL career, but he also really, really pounds it into these guys about being involved in the community, about making a difference with their talents and abilities and their platforms. And, of course, Donovan Fletcher, a strong Christian young man who we talked to a few back, who really loves God, really has a commitment to the Lord, and really wants to use that as a way to impact young people's lives. And that's what we're about at Sold Out Youth Ministries, is the opportunity to impact the lives of youngsters through the passion of sports. And one of the things that's really interesting as we go forward is going to be, will college football change the way they do things in terms of looking at some of the reasons why they're having so much problems in terms of rules that are being broken, and in this case, players receiving benefits over and above their scholarships, which is right now a problem. I would hope that somehow the conferences would come up with an overall plan, maybe where there could be pooling or some sort of help for the smaller conferences to be able to make this available to other student athletes. And we're not talking about paying. We're talking about the things that other student athletes are able to enjoy. Of course, a lot of people don't realize that there are certain parts of the year that college student athletes cannot work to make extra money. So it isn't that they don't want to do that. It's that it's illegal to do so. So let's hope that we're able to get some of those monies and some of those dollars available from the millions and billions of dollars overall over the years through these television contracts and through all the shirts and jerseys and others that are sold. When we come back on Sold Out Sports Talk, right here on AFR Talk, we're going to talk a little NBA. We're going to talk some more college football. You hang in there right here on Sold Out Sports Talk on AFR Talk.